high school, I used to bust it to the dance.
When I shoot my shot, that shit wetty like on Shaq. See the shots that I took, wet like on Brooke, wet like on Lizzie. I be spinning valley circle blocks till I'm busy. Like where is it? Like where is it? No one's seen him, no one's seen him. Tryna pay him, tryna pay him. She's in love with who I am. Back in high school, I used to bust it to the dance.
Back in high school, I used to bust it to the dance.
Does anyone else like drinking cold coffee even when it's freezing outside? I don't know, maybe because I have a tendency to overheat in my winter clothes. I find the cold coffee mixed with the cold air pretty refreshing. Maybe I'm just weird. So I just finished touring a brand new home, actually a model in a brand new community, and that's because I'm looking to buy a house. This entire time I've been living in DC, I've been renting, and that's for a couple of reasons. One being I actually enjoy renting. I like the ability to move every year and experience a new part of DC, a new neighborhood, but also like the real estate market here in DC is just so expensive. To give you an idea, $500,000 in DC won't get you much. A 1-bedroom, maybe a 2-bedroom condo. What a lot of people do is they actually move outside of DC in the suburbs, but with that you're dealing with long commute times if your job is in DC, like how mine is. But recently, I don't know what it is, maybe because I'm turning 30 soon, I kind of feel the need to diversify my investments, and that's purely what this is. It's an investment move. So I'm looking at areas and properties that I think will appreciate over time. I'm also doing the math to see how much money I would need to put down to make a positive cash flow on these properties if I want to rent it out in the future. And that's another thing that I think people need to do a little bit more analysis on. You can't just buy a property and rent it out. It's not that simple, especially in the DC area. You need to put a lot of money down to even break even, let alone make positive cash flow. Money that you could keep invested somewhere else and make better returns. But I am turning 30 soon, so I think that's part of the reason why I kind of feel the need to diversify my investments, which is why I'm looking into properties. Anyways, this video, I want to share with you guys some skills that I think are highly necessary to be a successful project manager, skills that I think can translate to other professions. So stay tuned for that. I want to keep this vlog format up because I got some positive feedback on my last videos, and I don't want this channel to be like those videos I see all over YouTube where I just talk to you guys in my button-up shirt in front of a whiteboard. I kind of want to make it more personal, and if you guys are interested in that kind of content, please subscribe and stay tuned for more. But with that, I am hungry, but I also need to work out because I haven't worked out in like 3 days. So I think I'm gonna hit the gym, work out, and then I'll see you guys in a little bit. So they recently built some new condos in this area, and I was looking at them, but the condo fees are anywhere between $500 to $1,200 per month. The condo fee. This is why I'm currently renting. Leftover Alfredo pasta with broccoli and some brisket that I picked up at Whole Foods, the hot bar, while I was doing some grocery shopping. This is actually my late lunch, early dinner. It's only 5 o'clock, but it's completely dark outside. I'm still getting used to the whole daylight savings things. All I did today was just tour houses, go to the gym, get some groceries, and now it's already dark. And I wanted to make this video while I go about my day, but I might have to just do it from the comfort of my home. At least I have Cooper. Want to say hi to the channel? Cutie pie. All right, y'all, so there are a plethora of individual skills that I think are highly necessary for a PM to be successful. However, instead of listing off 15, 20, 25 individual skills, I want to give you guys 5 hypernyms, umbrella terms, if you will, where I think all these individual skills sort of fall under. So if you can remember these 5 hypernyms, I think you'll be putting yourself in a good position to remember all the skills that you need to sharpen each and every day to become a PM, because I do think these skills are skills that you develop over time. It's not something you just acquire once and it's done. A lot of these are soft skills or behavioral skills that you develop through experience, and a lot of it is also tacit knowledge. I would consider, for those who are studying for their PMP, tacit knowledge is something that you can't just learn by reading something. It's something that you gain through experience, as opposed to explicit knowledge. So with that, number 1 on my list is pretty obvious, I think, and that is leadership. And when I think of leadership, I think of multifarious qualities and traits and skills. And when I think of a good leader, I think of someone who not only knows how to manage a team, but also is someone who's a good team player. And I think the team player part is often overlooked and underrated, because on projects, you'll have multidisciplinary, cross-functional teams that consist of people from different backgrounds with different skill sets and with different personalities. And even even from different organizations. So a lot of times you'll find yourself without the direct authority over these people. So you need to be able to motivate people to do their best work and know how to align your interests with theirs so they are fully committed to the project and you get the support that you need to have a successful project. Also, as a PM, there will be times where you need to influence up to your bosses, leadership, sponsors, stakeholders, whoever it may be. And that takes a lot of courage, especially when you're working on projects with high visibility. You need to be able to have those tough discussions and also say no. There are going to be times where you need to say no and negotiate, which I'll talk about later, and that takes a lot of courage. And all of this is made possible by having social skills. Remember, projects are about people, they're people oriented, so having people skills, knowing how to build relationships with people, with different types of people, and this takes a lot of emotional intelligence and empathy. So these are all things that I think about when I think of leadership, what makes a good leader. So just ask yourself and think about what makes a good leader and strive to develop those characteristics and traits and skills. And it's definitely something that you just get better at over time with experience. Number 2 on my list is communication, whether that's written communication, like in the form of emails, letters, or memos. You want to make sure your emails are clear and concise and to the point and people can understand them. And verbal communication in the form of phone calls or virtual meetings or even in person. You want to make sure that you're able to articulate your thoughts and drive the point home. This also involves presentations where you have to brief people, sometimes your leadership or even different stakeholders, on what you're trying to accomplish. This type of communication is different than leading working groups where all the detail is discussed. When you're presenting something, you kind of have to hit the highlights and know how to drive the point home. Also, a part of nonverbal communication is body language. I think body language is often overlooked. Body language is important to understand. It's one way to interpret someone's emotions or mood or their reaction to things that are said during a meeting, and also being conscious of your own body language to make sure you're giving off the right message. One of the most important things to communicate as a project manager is expectations. You want to make sure that everyone is on board and is tracking the same thing. You'd hate to have someone just not understand what the point of the project is or even what they're supposed to do or what they're responsible for. To make sure you communicate that early and make sure you communicate it often, because there's always people who don't listen or don't get it the first or second or even the third time. So repeatedly and consistently communicating these things can help manage and set expectations. Quick break, I want to share with you guys a recent purchase that I made. It's something that I've been kind of going back and forth on, but I finally just pulled the trigger, and it's a standing desk. It's a fully Jarvis standing desk. For those who know their standing desks, I just spent the last couple hours researching and comparing the different desks. But ultimately what I decided was that if it's something that is going to help me be more productive, something that's going to inspire me and motivate me to work harder and more, ultimately it's worth it. And I believe in investing in yourself, and that's what I did. And this one was a little less than $1,000 only because of the Black Friday sale. I think normally it's like $1,200, but I think it's worth it. The last desk that I had, which I just threw away, was like falling apart. It was a cheap desk that I got off of Amazon for less than like $150, made out of particle wood, and it just deterred me from wanting to work on it because it didn't feel really solid and it wobbled and et cetera, et cetera. So in the end, like it's a lot of money for a desk, but if it's something that motivates you or will motivate you to work harder and it's going to propel you either directly or indirectly to your goals, then I think it's worth it. And that's the message that I want to give to you guys. If there's something that you are thinking about but you're kind of on the fence about it because it's expensive, just ask yourself, is it going to help you reach your goals, get to where you want to be? And if the answer is yes, I think it's worth it, within reason, of course. So invest in yourself, take that course, spend the money, spend the time, even if it's something that takes time. Learn that new skill, buy something for yourself that's going to help you get from point A to point B to point B, from point B to point C, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. Number 3 on my list is having analytical skills. And having analytical skills can be defined as having the ability to break something down into smaller elements. And usually it's applied to reports or information, taking reports or information and breaking it down into smaller pieces of information or smaller data, and even taking a step further and analyzing that data. But it can also, that concept can be applied to project management, where you take a big project and you break it up into phases and you break that up into activities or tasks. And as a PM, you have to understand how those different tasks affect one another and the relationship between those tasks, you know, which ones you have to finish before you can start the next sequential activity. But going back to the data analysis piece, it really would behoove you as a PM to learn data analysis, to learn how to manage spreadsheets, you know, getting really good with Microsoft Excel, because there's going to be a lot of times where you have to open up spreadsheets and find information from raw data, and you have to, you know how to sort it and search for connections and patterns and draw conclusions from that data. So it might even help to learn SQL or SQL, because with SQL you can then query your own data and format it in a way that makes sense for you. And take it a step further and even learn some data visualization tools. The one that I'm familiar with is Tableau, and this can be really helpful when you take a bunch of information that you've analyzed and you're trying to present it in a way that makes sense for people who aren't so used to looking at the raw data. So I'm talking about leadership, potential clients, different stakeholders. You can really convey and drive your point home by presenting this information in a way that people can, you know, see it in pretty colors and visualize it. You know, for projects that you're trying to get sponsored, or, you know, certain decisions that you need to influence that will help add business value. As a PM, we're not just, you know, managing people, we're also thinking about business value, how to add value to your company, your organization, or to your clients. Also, with analytical thinking comes research, doing your own research. So as a PM, you might find yourself in an industry that you're not too familiar with, or with a product that you're not too familiar with, or working with people from different functions that you've never worked in before. So doing your own research and, you know, self-educating yourself on these things will really help you be a successful project manager.
She said, babe, I think this was a typo. Nah, girl, I got it, that's like, no, I can show you bigger things than that. It's gonna be a minute till I'm back. Let me get your images that last. Every had a limit in the past. I have plenty women in the past. I done plenty cities in the past. You don't need to know what you can ask.
Good morning, it's a brand new day. I fell asleep last night while editing the intro to this video, but it's Sunday morning. We're gonna take it easy today. For breakfast, I whipped up some frozen dumplings that I get from Costco and 2 eggs for protein. These are the dumplings that I get. They're on sale often at Costco for like $9, and it's pretty good value. And yeah, it's just something that and it's really easy to like heat up on a pan, and it's something I eat when I'm feeling lazy and I don't feel like cooking. Number 4 on my list, I think, is one of the more crucial skills that you must have in order to be a successful project manager, and that is the ability to solve problems, to be a problem solver. And when I think of a problem solver, I think of someone who can and be many things. First of all, I think of someone who has creativity. When you do something for a long time, even manage different projects using the same process, it's really easy to get stuck doing the same thing over and over again. But can you apply some creativity and think outside the box? Can you look at the process and improve on it? Can you make things more efficient, do things differently in a more innovative way? Problem solving also requires flexibility. Things change in projects all the time. Clients' needs change, priorities change, resources come and go. Can you be flexible? And that's more long-term. In the short term, let's say you're in a meeting and someone can't get on Microsoft Teams. Can you be flexible in the moment and get everyone on a conference line? Also, in projects, you might run into a problem where you have to negotiate either with a supplier because their prices don't fit your budget, but even with your clients who are demanding things that are just outside the original scope that was agreed upon, and you kind of have to negotiate with them and tell them no. And it's really not easy to do, especially for me, who I like to, I consider myself a people pleaser, but it's really important to find a compromise or explain to them why those demands can't be met in this project. Speaking of compromise, you also need to be able to resolve internal conflict within your team, conflict management, right? So, there might be times where you have people on your team who just don't get along for whatever reason, personality or whatever. You have to be able to manage that conflict, get people to work well with each other, and ultimately get them to collaborate. And there might be times where sometimes you don't work well with other people. Can you still manage that conflict somehow? All of these examples are problems that you will face as a project manager, and having the ability to solve these problems requires creativity, flexibility, understanding how to manage conflict, and it kind of goes back to the skills that I mentioned before. I mean, these are leadership qualities. So hope by now you're picking up on what I'm putting down, which is the fact that all of these skills mutually benefit one another. They definitely have a symbiotic relationship, and getting better at one usually means that you're going to get better at another. I just got to the gym and I just took some pre-workout, so we're gonna have to do this in one take and do it fast. So number 5 on my list, I intentionally put it last because I think it ties everything together, and that is business acumen. Acumen is a term that basically means to have good judgment and to make good decisions. So business acumen is business savviness. And in order to be business savvy, you really have to understand how businesses work, how they operate, how they make money, even how organizations are structured and why they're structured that way. And you have to understand the politics between them. As a project manager, you also have to understand the industry that you're in. So to have commercial awareness, to understand your competitors, this involves pricing. You have to understand the financials behind everything, and you also have to understand the decisions that are being made and the consequences of those decisions, and to include risk, identifying risk, managing risk. Remember, risk is not always a bad thing. Risk can also be opportunity, and you have to understand how to take advantage and exploit those opportunities. As a PM, sometimes it's really easy to get stuck in the day-to-days, managing your own individual task and team, but it's really important to take a step back and see the big picture, to understand how the business model works and how ultimately you're adding value to your company or to your clients. On a personal level, I think business acumen really relates to your own personal finances. You know, how you manage your finances, how you think about your investments, how you're looking at the market to compare different prices. I think all that stuff really translates into having good business acumen. And there you go, guys. Those are my 5 main skills with individual skills under them. So my 5, umbrella terms, principles, whatever you want to call them, that every PM must have, in my opinion. If you guys like the video, hit the thumbs up button, leave some feedback in the comments below. What other content you guys would like to see, and if you guys think I missed any skills, I can think of one for communication right now, actually, which is active listening. I think active listening is so important, and I forgot to mention that part. But my pre-workout is kicking in. I am all over the place right now, and I know this video is kind of all over the place too, but I kind of like this style. I think it's fun for me, like showing you guys my day and not just talking project management at you guys. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna go work out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Like a light, slept through the flight, not for the night.